and then the setup and what actually sold. So if that's... Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Cozy Season Crochet. My name is Nikki and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe below. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. So I just did my very first craft market and I'm going to share a lot about that today, from behind the scenes of what I prepped to the crochet patterns that I picked, and setting up everything, getting all my displays, to figuring out how to put up one of those tents, because that was something new for me, and then finally what sold. I had an absolute blast doing it, and I'm going to share all about that coming up. So when I was trying to find a market to attend, I went on Facebook and looked in the events on Facebook and tried to see if I could find one that was coming up in about a month and that was smaller, and I just happened to find one that was in my hometown that was a smaller event. I also looked at the cost to enter the markets. So there were some that were over $100 or $80, and this was my very first one, so I wanted it to be something that was very low cost to get started. So I actually found one in my hometown and it was only $15 for the booth fee. So that was perfect for me as a starting vendor craft fair, because it was very low pressure. I didn't have to sell a lot just to make up the fee of having my booth. So the biggest thing I did to get ready for my market was obviously to crochet. I will go into a little bit in what I picked to crochet. But my biggest thing is, if I'm going to do a market and I'm going to crochet a lot of things, I have to love the things I'm crocheting. I don't want to spend my time making things that I don't love. Like, that just sounds awful to me. I don't want to do that. So my husband was like, why don't you make Pokemon? I don't know if Pokemon is popular. But I'm like, I don't like Pokemon. So I don't want to sit there and take my time to crochet Pokemon, even if it's something, you know, maybe some people love that. I just want to make things that I love myself, because I feel like it's easier to, one, crochet them, and two, to sell them. So I set a goal, one item, one plushie per day. So I'm going to go through all of the different plushies that I started with, and then I'm going to share what actually sold. Okay, so now the fun part, what I made and what sold. So I'm going to go through the different patterns that I used and what sold, what did not sell, what was my best seller, and yeah, some things that maybe I would do differently next time. So let's start with some of the small stuff. One of my small item makes was some Pop-Tarts. So I did sell one of these, which they are adorable. They are a free pattern. I'm going to link all the patterns down below. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, but if they are paid, they're usually not very much. So they're definitely not expensive patterns. But I think I would definitely do Pop-Tarts again. They're adorable and they're fun to make, and they're a really quick make. So definitely Pop-Tarts. Something else that I made a lot of were these keychains. These little whale keychains. This was a free YouTube tutorial on how to make these keychains. I had also made this bee. I had a basket full of $5 small items and keychains, and I think it was really helpful to have that, so that if someone came in, they didn't want to spend a lot of money, but they just wanted to buy something small, it was helpful to have that little bin that they could look through and pick something out. One thing I did not think of was I did have a parent mention how the bottoms of the whales are white, and she was worried about it getting dirty. So I think next time I will make some without the white belly. I do love the white belly just because I think it's so cute, but I also understand as a parent that you don't want them to get dirty, and yeah, so I might make them in different colors next time instead of just having the white bottom. Some of my other items I took with were an octopus. I had 3 of these. I also brought one that had this cute little bow. I love her little bow. I think it's so adorable. This was a free YouTube tutorial to make an octopus. So I brought those with. I did not sell any of those. Something else I brought with were my bears and sweaters. I have a Wisconsin one and a Packer one. I think they're so cute. I kind of feel a little bit conflicted because we are the Packers or the Badgers and we don't really support the Bears. So I guess it's a little bit conflicting to have a bear and a Packer sweater, but I think they're so cute, and I grew up going to cabins, and my parents had a cabin and loved to decorate with black bears, and we were big Packer fans. So why not put a Packer bear in a bear in a Packer sweater, right? I think these would be so cute, like a cabin, or just to have around your house. Cute. So these did not sell, but very cute. I did end up making 3 of them to prep. Keeping going with the small theme, I made quite a few of these birds. So I'm kind of in love with these birds. I kind of want to keep them all myself, but I also really love making them and selling them. So I have like this one's a seagull, this one's a mallard, and this is from a pattern from Annie Caraway Art. And these were good sellers. I sold a mallard, I sold a loon, I think I sold an eagle. So these are really quick to make, very easy to make, and they're just adorable. I love them. So like I said before, I can't make something if I don't truly love it myself. It just doesn't sound enjoyable to me. So I'm only gonna make things that I really love and that I think are cute and that I enjoy making, which birds are definitely ones that I enjoy. One of my best sellers at my fall market was, maybe not a big surprise, were ghosts. So I had a bunch of different ghosts that were just white and had little removable hats. And I think I sold maybe about 4 or 5 of those. The 2 that did not sell were my ghosty with the acorn hat and my zombie ghost, which I love both of these so much. I actually wasn't too sad that they didn't sell, and yeah, I'll just keep them at home for some decorations. But ghosts were big sellers. Pumpkins were very big sellers too at my fall market, so definitely recommend bringing pumpkins and ghosts if you're going to a fall market. I also brought some emotional support pickles. These guys are super cute. I have 2 sizes, the big one and the little one. And I made a little sign that says, "I will always be here to remind you that you are a really big deal." So these are cute. I did sell one of these, and yeah, they're quick to make. They are a free pattern from the Ribblr app. If you guys use the Ribblr app, I do like that app a lot, and they have a lot of free patterns on there, and this was one of the free patterns on the app. Chickens are also great to bring with. They are a quick make. I usually don't even need a pattern to make these. I'll just start with the bottom and then increase until I like the length of it, and then sew it shut. So yeah, so these are some chickens that I made. I did sell 1 chicken, and they're super cute and quick to make and great market prep ideas. So I've heard that it's helpful to bring a bigger item when you go to a craft fair, just to kind of show off, like, hey, look what I can do. Yes, I can make these smaller items, but I also have a lot of skills and I can make these bigger items too. So meet my big item here. This is a strawberry turtle, and this was from a free YouTube tutorial from, I think it's from Crochet by Jenna. And yeah, this was one of like my first bigger items that I made, and I love how he turned out. So this was nice to bring just to kind of show off like something that's a little bit more complex and bigger. I thought it was nice to have something like that with. I made quite a few of these leggy froggies. I think I ended up making maybe 6 or 7 of them, but I didn't end up selling any of them. So I don't know, it just kind of depends on the market and who's there. I felt like the whole time I was like waiting for everyone to come, and it never happened. We had some slow, steady traffic to the craft fair, but it definitely was a very small craft fair, And I was actually pleasantly surprised by the number of people who came by and bought something, considering that it felt like the whole time it kind of felt dead to me. Like, not dead to me as in like you're dead to me, but just there wasn't many people there. And I remember this event happening in years past and it being packed, and that just never happened. So yeah, I'm still really glad that I went. I think it was such a great learning experience, but I was thinking that there would be a lot more people there. So yeah, just kind of be prepared for anything. You just never know what's going to sell, what might not sell. And it really depends on who is showing up at your market as far as what sells. I think too, that's why it's so important to make things you love, because you don't know what's going to sell. You don't know who's going to show up. So why not spend your time making something you love personally and putting your energy into that and selling that versus trying to predict what someone might want and not really enjoy it while you're crocheting it and then try to sell it. And then if it doesn't sell, that might be kind of frustrating. So one of my other bigger items that I brought with was Jack. He is something that I crocheted 2 days before my market, which I would not recommend, but I kind of was like feeling like I want to make something else. I want to make something wow, but I want to be able to finish it within 2 days. So I have been seeing Jack around YouTube, Instagram, and I just absolutely love him. He's adorable. So I made him 2 days before the market, and then that was really nice to be able to have him to put out. I don't know if this was good or bad, but I chose not to put him for sale. He was more of like a marketing advertising for me. I did have someone ask if he was for sale and I had to say no. But yeah, I just love him, and I think more I wanted to put him out to show like what I can do and have people see that, and it definitely was a wow factor to have Jack with me. So yeah, so if you guys do have like a bigger plushie, even if you're selling the smaller things, I think it is nice to have something that's more of a wow factor. Something else I brought with me were my Loaf cats. I only have my Halloween Loaf cats left. All the rest of my Loaf cats sold. So I had a bunch that were like rainbow and different colors. I had some that were gray, some made with Bernat blanket. This one is made with Parfait plush. So I really loved having these there. People loved them. I had both the cats and the kittens, and these were really good sellers. So I highly recommend bringing Loaf cats, Loaf kittens. And then I recently started making dogs and puppies, and I would definitely bring those as well next time. I did bring a German Shepherd dog I made, and that was actually my very first sale. And I had someone come up and she was like, "That looks like Rufus." I'm like, "Who's Rufus?" But she's like, "Oh, it looks like my dog." So I think that's really cool that people can recognize like, oh hey, that's my animal. And people love their dogs and love their cats. So I think next market I would definitely bring more dogs with me and more cats for sure. Maybe kittens and puppies too, because sometimes you just want like the little ones. I have my list of everything that's sold, and most of my items were in the $5 to $20 range, so they definitely were on the smaller end. I ended up selling a Pop-Tart, a German Shepherd dog, kittens, a turtle, a smaller turtle, some keychains, a pumpkin, ghosts, birds, chickens, a football that I made, Pickle. I did sell, oh, I had like a larger frog too from this Woodlands collection of like there's like the squirrels. It's an Annie Caraway Art Woodland Friends. So I have the squirrel. I also had the frog from that one, and that did sell. And the cats. Yeah, so those were kind of the main items that I made and sold at my market. And again, I feel like, considering that it was a smaller market, I feel like I did really well. And while I am still, you know, very much in the hole from all the yarn I bought and the eyes and the tools and the hooks and everything. You know, it's just nice to make some money doing something that I love. And more than anything, I love seeing joy on kids' faces when they see my plushies. It was so fun to see the kids come up and be excited. And I heard one mom say, like, don't touch anything, but I need a sign that says, like, touch everything, because, I mean, not with like sticky fingers, but you know, if they just want to touch it. I think amigurumi and plushies, they just need to be touched. They're so soft, and you don't really understand what they feel like until you touch them. And I think that's why I love crocheting so much, is just like the tactile experience of feeling the yarn go through my fingers. It is so calming. One of the reasons why I try to crochet every single day is just that it calms my brain. Like even now, I feel like I'm talking slower because I'm thinking about the yarn in my fingers, and that just helps me breathe deeper. It helps me calm my racing brain that goes a mile a minute, and it just brings me back to the moment. One of the things I love about crochet is that I could spend all day, every day doing it and not get sick of it. And there aren't very many things I can say that I can do that in life. So something that time passes, and I can't even tell you how much time I could spend crocheting and not get bored. You know, sometimes my hands and my neck might feel it, but I just love creating something out of yarn. I love the experience of touching the yarn and having it run through my fingers and trying new yarn. I just think it's such a blessing, and it's just so fun. So the fact that I got to go out to a market and sell my plushies for the first time was so exciting. My kids were there with me, and then my husband came and he helped out too, to kind of man the booth when I was busy. And the joy on my kids' faces as they were helping me is something I will always remember. They are the sweetest girls, and they were so excited to help people. Like, I had to kind of prep them and say, you know, we don't want to bother people when they come up to the booth. We just want to let them look, and they were so good about not bothering them, but being really helpful too. And yeah, I'm still like shocked with how many plushies I sold. So I'm going to count it up real quick. I ended up selling 26 items at my craft fair, which is amazing. I'm so happy with that. And I did have a goal of at least $200, and I did meet and exceed that goal. So I would definitely do another craft fair in the future. I probably would want to stick with something small just because I don't have a ton of inventory. But if I am able to kind of build up an inventory for next summer, I wouldn't mind doing one that was a little bit bigger, as long as I have my kids there to help me, help people check out, put the items in the bag, and be my support. So if you're going to find a display, I recommend first of all, I recommend using what you have at home, because you probably have things at home that would work. So I had some baskets, I had a crate. Otherwise, I would recommend going to places like Goodwill. I found a nice wooden crate there. Aldi, I found the cutest little pantry baskets that were perfect for my small items at Aldi for like $7 for 2 of them. So that was a really good spot for me to find baskets. So probably Aldi. And then I did find a cute little 2-tiered shelf at TJ Maxx, and that was really nice too, to be able to put my birds and put things up higher. I had watched some videos that said you don't want everything to be flat on the table, and try to get height on your table. So I had crates and baskets, and I had a little shelf that I used, and I think that really helped kind of get things off the table and get things at different heights to make it a little bit more visually interesting. Overall, I learned a ton doing this market. I have never tried to put up one of those tents before, so I learned how to put up one of those tents and take it down. It's not as hard as it looks. I learned how to set up my tables and find different displays. Even though I didn't film a lot of behind the scenes, I really had a great time at my craft fair, and I would definitely do one again in the future. A couple things I would do differently in the future would be to put a sign at the front of my booth saying what kind of payment I accepted, like cash, credit, Venmo, just to make it really easy for people when they come in and to know right away what kind of payment that I take. So that's one change I would make. I think something else I might look into in the future would be pricing my items. I kind of took my best guess, being my first market, with what to price the items based on what I've seen online. So I do think it depends on where you're located, and then obviously a lot on how much time it took you to make the items. So I just started off with the price that I felt comfortable with, more based on my time that it took to make the item. And overall, I felt like it was really well received. I don't feel like there were too many people who were like, "Oh, that's too expensive," but you never know. And obviously, you can't change your prices just because someone thinks it's too expensive. There was another booth at this fair that was selling things for a lot cheaper than I was, and I was very surprised. I have no idea why they were selling their things so cheap. If it was end of the season and they just wanted to get rid of it, but they were like pretty large plushies for very, very cheap, and I thought my prices were already low. So, you know, sometimes you're gonna have that, but I also felt like my items were made with a lot better yarn. The quality of my items was a lot better. They were a lot different than what they were selling. So in the end, it didn't really matter that much. I still felt like I sold a good amount of things, and that didn't really affect my sales. You know, it's hard to say. Maybe it could have a little bit, but overall, we weren't selling the exact same things. So yeah, so I have no idea. It was strange, but you know, I just have to stick with what I'm doing and know that, that I'm doing the right thing as well. Alright guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful to see behind the scenes of my first craft fair. If you have any questions, put them down below. And I would absolutely love it if you subscribe to my channel so that I can see you in my next video. Alright, see you then.